Welcome to Unibet's Inside the Octagon. I'm John Gooden with our resident expert analyst, Dan the Outlaw Hardy. UFC 189 is set to go down on July 11th in Las Vegas with 2 UFC title fights on the line. Today, we're looking at the 189 co-main event, where ruthless Robbie Lawler will look to make his first welterweight title defence against dangerous Canadian Rory MacDonald.
I wouldn't want to fight me. None of them want to fight me.
This is my time to shine, and I'm going to take that belt.
The welterweight champion of the world, ruthless Robbie Lawler.
There is no denying that man is worthy of a title shot.
2 belts are on the line tonight. Oh! Wow! Oh, he's out! This is a dogfight, man.
UFC 189, 2 massive title fights, but Dan, it's all about the welterweight clash between ruthless Robbie Lawler and Rory MacDonald, and this is what we're going to get to in a minute. A rerun of UFC 167, possibly. Very close fight indeed between these two, and one I'm happy to see again.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Ever since the first one, I've been looking forward to the rematch, and we all knew it was coming. They're so highly ranked, they're so tightly contested fights that, you know, these guys are always going to have entertaining fights. They could fight 10 times. Yeah, definitely. They're always going to show new technique and new talent. In this fight, it was very much a story of Rory MacDonald trying to keep distance from Robbie Lawler in the striking, and then as soon as Lawler stepped in, trying to initiate a takedown and get the fight to the floor. Robbie Lawler did a great job of staying on his feet for the most part. He did end up on the floor a couple of times, but one thing that we'll talk about with Robbie Lawler is he's great at getting back to his feet. But Robbie Lawler wants to be in the pocket. He wants to stand in boxing range and trade punches because he knows his odds are good in that situation.
Yeah.
He knows he can take a punch and he knows he can land a punch.
He can definitely do that.
And you know, from early on in his UFC career, from his UFC debut, it was his punching power that has always stood out. And you know, since moving to American Top Team, his ground game's gotten better. He's become more of a well-rounded fighter. Even though his approach has not changed necessarily, he still wants to stand and trade with people. But now he has a more well-rounded skill set, which allows him to do that at the higher level.
And slightly more measured, perhaps?
Definitely, definitely. More relaxed. I think that's the biggest thing. Perhaps not so much measured, but knowing when to apply pressure and when to hold back. Even sometimes when he'll get taken down, he'll land on the floor and he'll laugh. You know, it's like kind of funny to him, like because he's so relaxed. He knows he's going to get back up at some point,
yeah.
And he knows that he only needs one punch to get the fight finished. Look at this. Now this is a situation where most people would have stepped back and stood up. Robbie Lawler knows when to keep that pressure on. He's very present. He's full reptile, is a good way of putting it. He stays in the moment and he reads the fight as it's happening. Unbelievable, very athletic, very explosive, and look at that. Now this shovel punch, I'm going to talk about it a little later on, but it's that short rising left hook that he throws off his back arm. Just generates so much power because it's all coming from his leg, and he used it really well in that first fight. So it'll be interesting to see, obviously, the respect that Rory's going to have going into this fight for him and for his punching power, and whether that affects his approach.
Yeah, okay. Well, we reached out to the World Wide Web for some questions for you, Dan.
Okay.
And this is what we've got. Thanks to everyone, but more specifically, thanks to Kieran Murphy. Rory is going in favourite. What will be different from the first fight? And if I can just add something, Rory MacDonald has said to the media recently that he is a completely revised version from what we've seen before. And we sometimes forget how young he is and probably still a developing product.
Yeah.
Quite scary to think that.
It is, and at such a young age, yeah, and at such a young age, he's still got so much room to develop, so much room to grow and to, you know, to pick up new skill sets. Now, you've got to remember he's training at a TriStar.
Yeah.
There are a lot of good guys there. You know, you've got Faraz as a full-time coach there. You've got John Danaher coming through all the time.
Sure.
Henzo Gracie is constantly sending guys up there to train. And their Saturday afternoon sparring session, you get about 50 guys on the mat from all around Canada that all come together and work as a team. It's fantastic to see. And obviously he's fighting guys, he's training with guys that are always showing him new things, new skill sets and new challenges.
Yeah.
Now, in a lot of his fights, you'll see him testing his opponent. He's always quite relaxed in the first round. He never really applies himself too much because he wants his opponent to show themselves, and when they do, there'll be a shot that he can land them. It was a beautiful short left hook on Tarek Safadine that got this fight finished. But again, it's that measured approach, not throwing himself into the fight as much as Lawler does. Keeping a distance and keeping measured and then breaking his opponents down. Now in the Maia fight in the first round, he spent most of it on his back trying to get back to his feet. So when the second round came out, there was naturally a little more urgency to get this fight finished. The body kick, which I want to talk about as well, is something that's going to be relevant, given the fact that they're orthodox versus southpaw. So they're effectively mirror images of each other, which means that they have the same options. So just as Rory MacDonald has got his power right leg, Robbie Lawler's got his power left leg, and that's something that Rory's going to have to watch out for. In the Damian Maia fight, like I was saying, it was the distance he was keeping, slightly lower in his stance and prying at him with his jab to set up the bigger shots, like that right hand. And look at this, beautiful. Measures it, finds the opportunity and throws it. A very present guy, a very cerebral opponent to be facing for Robbie Lawler. Someone that is going to be measured and he's going to be thinking about, you know, management of space and octagon control. And look at this, it's less of a jab and more of a joust.
That's perfect.
It is beautiful. All the way from his fist, all the way to his heel, it's rooted. It's like a lightning rod being earthed to the ground. So when that jab lands, it's solid. There's no recoil there because it goes straight down into the canvas through his back heel. And he can use that full extension. And given the fact that he is 6'2" at welterweight, you know, he is slightly taller than a lot of the guys.
So that's a big shock.
It does. Very good. And he can keep them on the end of that jab.
Yeah.
And it does feel like a long, I mean, I sparred with the guy. It feels like he's miles away from you and he can hit you with the jab. He covers distance very well and he manages distance very well. And that's what he's going to have to do with his striking.
He's overly strategic sometimes, or he's been criticised for being overly strategic. And is that something that he can afford to be with someone like Lawler and the kind of particularly striking game that Lawler has?
Well, he has been criticised in the past, sometimes being a little too cautious. You've got to remember the Carlos Condit fight, which he won pretty much all the way through and then lost it in that last minute or so the end.
Yeah.
You know, I think personally that maybe had a slight effect on him, so he holds back a bit in the first round now to measure his opponents a bit more. Now, you've got to remember this is a 5-round fight, so he's got an extra 10 minutes to work, and that can change the whole game plan. He can be very measured in that first round. Right. And Robbie Lawler's not in any rush. He knows he only needs one punch, and he's got 25 minutes to land it.
We've seen it against Hendricks.
Exactly. Yeah. So that first round, expect to see it more of a feeling out process. Now, if you push forward, like Matt Brown did, Robbie Lawler will stand his ground and hit you. And this is the shovel punch I'm talking about. Again, like I was talking about with the lightning rod, it's rooted in his back leg. So when the power lands on his opponent, it's full power. All the drive is coming from his back leg, from his left leg, and firing into that punch. So
it's mid-range for Lawler and full range, if you like, for MacDonald.
Exactly that. I mean, Lawler does have good movement. He does have good range strikes, particularly his kicking. One thing that has improved a lot, partly due to his flexibility, I think. I would imagine he's done a lot more stretching since he pulled a few muscles early on in his career. So now he seems to be a much better athlete, much more agile and flexible, and that's allowing him to land these really nice body kicks. Which, and if you think about it, that screw punch, it's the same motion.
Yes,
it's the same movement. Yeah, here we go, look, landing that body kick. So his opponent, now Matt Brown here, is effectively tucking up, affecting that shovel punch to come, and he gets the body kick. And that body kick really took some fight out of him, just like that jab did on Jake Ellenberger there. And watch, he's faking, he pulls his arm out as if he's going to throw the shovel punch and then follows it with a knee when Ellenberger ducks past it. And like I said, full reptile, he knows when to pour it on. He can see his opponents hurt and he can feed off that. His confidence grows when he sees his opponents damaged and hurt, and he will just attack and slowly pour that pressure on.
Rory MacDonald has had the path to gold paved by Georges St. Pierre. Now George is obviously on a hiatus, potentially. It's now time for Rory to come through. But what a person to have taken a lot from, particularly technically, and definitely with the wrestling and kind of transitions, ground and pound that Georges St. Pierre used to bring. Yeah. In that kind of mould, he's very, very good at it.
Yeah, he is. And he didn't move to TriStar until he was into his UFC career. That was a move that happened later on.
After the Condit fight.
Exactly. So stepping into a camp that he has confidence in before he's even worked with the coaches makes a big difference. And it shows in his game. He is improving. And he has got a good working relationship with his cornermen. Obviously, we see Faraz in his corner quite a lot. We also see John Danaher in his corner, and I think they've got quite a nice rapport. Now look at these level changes and constant switching of direction, which is something something that GSP did very well, which I learned about firsthand. Always changing direction and stripping your base away. But when it gets to the ground, one thing that he does better, in my opinion, than GSP is his ground and pound. He's so much more aggressive. Good at pinning arms. This, again, is a GSP echo of GSP's career. The crucifix. Broke the grip,
position.
Pins the arm with his head, and he's got the other one pinned with his legs, and he could just rain down punches undefended. Now this is something else I want to talk about, creeping up in mount. Watch how he controls this elbow. This is a wall that Che Mills is using, which he removes. He pulls the elbow up, and that allows him to slide this far side knee up and then raise his mount up onto the chest of Che Mills.
So the bridge is then removed as an escape.
Well, you're going to see it right now because Che Mills will bridge and he just floats on top of him and sinks his hooks in on the back. And something else I want to talk about, I've spoke about it before, people are going to realise I'm kind of obsessed with this grip. I love it. It's a really nice control around the back of the arm and on the wrist. Now, watch this left hook that he throws here. He only holds the grip for a second. He just needs it to expose Che Mills for this one big shot. Bang! Sits Che Mills right down and then just pours it on.
Throws through the gears.
Yeah, until the referee steps in. Measured punches. He knows when to pick his shots. He knows when to place them. And he doesn't flurry with crazy ground and pound. He looks, he knows exactly what he's aiming for, and he hits clean, nasty, heavy shots in ground and pound. Robbie Lawler can't stay on his back for too long.
It's not just the ground and pound where he's very measured, he's also very measured and very precise with his striking. He's not the kind of guy that just runs forward and throws with reckless abandon. He measures everything out, and he's very efficient with the number of strikes that he throws. And Lawler's going to have to be very careful with that, but we have seen that he's a very difficult target to hit.
Yeah, well, he's always moving. This is one thing I want to talk about with Robbie Lawler. You can tell he's done a lot of boxing, and you'll see in his movement just that constant slight dip move into the side, a little bit of footwork, so he's stepping, he's moving his head. You can see it moving from one side of Jake Ellenberger's centre line to the other. Same again with Matt Brown. Watch how he just misses him with this kick. Robbie Lawler just dips out the way of it. Completely relaxed, no danger at all. He knows distance very well. And I just think more than anything it's because he spent so long in the boxing ring sparring. Now, this is something else he uses really well as well on his get-ups. Now, Matt Brown got a nice takedown here, and Robbie Lawler, although he was sat down for a second, he never accepted the takedown, and you'll see him using this to pry his way around to the side to force Matt Brown to keep working to hold him down.
A great switch on the feet as well to get his hip out. It's lovely
really
stuff.
Nice, really nice. And here, against Jake Ellenberger, he was laughing in that position when he had his arm trapped and Jake Ellenberger on his back.
Kind of offensive. Very.
and this is something else I want to talk about. This is really nice takedown defense. It's a good sprawl, obviously. There's his overhook just there that he's using.
A lot of weight.
A lot of weight. All of his weight is on Jake Ellenberger right now on his shoulders, and Jake Ellenberger's on his knees. So what he's going to be trying to do is trying to get his head up and posture so he can get underneath Robbie Lawler. And you'll see Robbie Lawler stuff in the head, and he keeps his hand on the back of the head. You'll see it in the Koscheck fight as well. He stuffs it and then he lands shots. So his opponent's head is pinned and he can't turn and face him. It's a really nice technique to use, and you'll see how relaxed he is in these takedowns here. Matt Brown's working really hard for this right now. He's really pushing for this takedown. And watch, hand on the back of the head and bang. You can't see it very well from this angle, but get onto Fight Pass and watch the replay of that. You'll see it in the replay, in the slow-mo. He pins the head to the mat. He lands a really nice, clean left hook, and then he switches his position to his right hand.
And one of those can change the complexion of the fight.
Just one. That's all he needs.
Yeah. Well, talking of just one, and that's all that he needs, one of the fights that we've got from his Strikeforce days against Melvin Manhoff really paints that picture. And I'll let you talk through this.
I love this
awesome
fight. Yeah, I love this fight. I mean, he really took some heavy leg kicks early on. You'll see it here. His leg's hurting. You can see him limping there. And Manhoff's a ferocious striker, but Robbie Lawler backed up against the fence. Bang! Just musters that one overhand right, does the job. And that just talks about how dangerous Robbie Lawler is. He's not even looking at his opponent.
Just
throws the second shot.
Ability to be able to connect with the chin.
Exactly. It's that fight or flight. You get backed into a corner. What do? Do you crumble and fall apart and fall against the fence, or do you bite down your mouthpiece and throw that one fight-ending punch? And that's what Robbie Lawler has. And if Rory MacDonald's going to keep pushing forward recklessly and try and close that distance, he's got to watch out for that, because even a hurt Robbie Lawler is a dangerous Robbie Lawler.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, let's see what's underlined in the facts and the stats. So Robbie Lawler, the champion, pound for pound number 8, and Rory MacDonald ranked number 2 in the division. And Dan, this really does tell us a lot about the striking and also the takedowns of Rory MacDonald.
Well, it does. I mean, you know, 3rd highest takedown accuracy among active welterweights, and he's contending with guys like Johnny Hendricks and Joyce St. Pierre, who are also on this ranking. But also, you know, Robbie Lawler's finishing rate, 80% finishing rate. That's really high. So you know that no matter where the fight goes, he's dangerous, and Rory MacDonald's got to use those takedowns to his advantage in this one.
We shall see. That one is for welterweight gold, and we're both super excited about that fight. Thank you very much, Dan. So plenty to look forward to in this one as we take a look at the odds. Can Robbie Lawler continue his dream run and defend the welterweight title? Or will Rory MacDonald take the belt back to Canada? Will there be a finish, or will the fight go the distance? As always, there are odds to be found on every round, and it's all brought to you by Unibet. Watch and bet live with Unibet, the official betting partner of the UFC. That's all for us for this episode, but make sure you join us again for our breakdown of the main event, Chad Money Mendes against the notorious Conor McGregor for the interim UFC featherweight title. I'm sure plenty of you will have questions about that fight, so do tweet us at Unibet using the hashtag InsideTheOctagon. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.